believe Buffalo is going to win it, folks.
Kick your heels up and shout.
Let's see why the Buffalo Bills are en route to the playoffs.
Come on now, the Bills are making it happen now. Stand up now, come on and shout.
Buffalo Bills go undefeated. And we're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Now, baby. Come on, come on.
No one
Come on
circles the
and
wagon
shout.
like the Buffalo Bills.
All right, we are live, and we are back. Welcome to another episode of the Overdue Bills podcast, and we're definitely excited today, man. We got a huge game. This one is, for what they say, it's for all the marbles, so to speak. We're definitely excited. And I just got to introduce my guy, our guy, Matty Ice, a.k.a. All Black Matt. Matt, what's up with you, man?
Not much, man. I'm pumped. I wish it was Monday afternoon instead of Saturday afternoon. I'm ready for this game.
I know, right? The anticipation is definitely killing me. And we told y'all, at the beginning of the season, we're going to, try our best to have a guest, every week on the show. And we've delivered on our promise. And we have another one, even though he's behind enemy lines. We definitely appreciate his time. Our guy, Max. Max, can you let the people know, a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my friend Adam and I, we started up our Patriots podcast before the season started. I'm a young gun. I'm only 23. I really, Tom Brady before these last couple of years was all I had known for the New England Patriots. So it's kind of been weird to see the way that this team has kind of rebuilt themselves in his absence. But it's been exciting so far. And I'm really excited for this game on Monday.
Absolutely. We're definitely excited. And let's do a little bit of housekeeping before we get into the show. We definitely want to let the people know, thank you for supporting the show. We thank you for being on. Thank you for supporting the merch, man. Overdue Bills, hoodies, shirts, hats, the whole nine. And we just have to let you know, definitely go to the website, overduebillspod.com. overduebillspod.com. Has all of our content, has everything you need to know about the Overdue Bills podcast. And please go support. We definitely still got some merch. And Matt, you want to let the people know about the pre-order situation that's going on?
Yeah, we got, we announced it yesterday. We got a couple sweatsuits coming to have them by Christmas. We're closing the pre-order at December 8th to ensure that you guys get those gifts for Christmas, or, you get the quickest turnaround possible. So it's up on all of our socials. It's not going to be on the website. It's going to kind of be, how we used to do it, a hand-to-hand thing, Venmo, Cash App, whatever. You link with one of the five of us. Hit us on our DMs on any social media platform to get in on that pre-order, because, they're already lining up. We want you guys to get in. Want you to have them around Christmas time.
Absolutely.
So get those quick.
Absolutely, man. It's definitely going fast. So please hop on that. And before we really get into the show, we got to let you know who our presenting sponsor is. Matt, please let the people know.
Yes, sir. This episode and every other episode is brought to you by none other than Buffalo Wing Kings. There's two things the guys here at Overdue Bills podcast know. That's Bills football and that's wings. Our first choice and the best choice is Buffalo Wing Kings. At Wing Kings is Wings 101. With over 101 different flavors and their beloved Wing of the Month special, Wing Kings is sure to school any other wing places around. Hit them up for Bills games, parties, graduations, and any event, just any random night you want to have some wings, go hit up Buffalo Wing Kings. Stop down and see them at their Elmwood Village location at 484 Elmwood Avenue, or give them a call at 716-248-1427 and find out why they say, and we know, they got the best wings in town, hands down. And make sure you shout us out when you go in there, Overdue Bills podcast. Get 10% off your order.
Absolutely. Please shout us out. Y'all need that 10% tomorrow. Definitely need those wings for this game. It's going to be a big one. Let's do this. Y'all know how we do it. Quick question of the day. And I got two questions, but I want to ask this one first. And this is to Matt and to Max. Did you think the Patriots would be 7-4 at this current time in the season, right? Obviously, we understand Tom Brady left, rebuilding season. They pick a rookie quarterback in the first round. Not necessarily supposed to, right? Nobody knew that Mack Jones was necessarily going to fall that far, or any rookie quarterback for that matter. He does. Bill Belichick spends, I believe, the most I think in the offseason, as far as in the history of the NFL, he literally spent the most money, which is insane. He never spends money. So like all these like moving parts, all these like crazy things that happen in the offseason. And the Buffalo Bills just went to the AFC, title game last year against the Kansas City Chiefs. And like now we look up, the New England Patriots is top of the division. So I'm going to go to you first, Max. Did you believe that this was going to happen? Or did you think this was going to be a rebuilding year? Let's just see where we're at the end of the season.
So going into the season, I thought, okay, they spent all that money, like you said, more money than they had in the combined like last 10 years. Really out of character. And going into the season, I was like, okay, looking at this roster, maybe going into the year, I didn't think that they had one of the better rosters in the league, but I figured with the way Bill Belichick will coach this team up, they could reach double-digit wins and be a wild card team. That was my expectation. I did not think that they would be A, fighting for the division at this point in the year, and B, with 8 wins at this point in the year. I thought maybe around this time they'd be 7-5, 6-6, kind of in the back half of the AFC playoff picture. But to answer your question, I really didn't think that they were going to be this good. No.
Matt, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat. I with spending all that money, I knew that their defense would obviously be good. I just didn't think that the offensive and special teams production would match that throughout the season. So I'm definitely shocked that they're. I mean, even going into the first couple of weeks, it was looking like we were going to run away with it, no problem. And now we're obviously in the spot that we're in. So it's definitely a big shock.
Absolutely. I guess I say the same thing. You definitely didn't see it coming, to say the least. We're gonna talk about it. Looked at some skill position players on the Patriots. I'm like, oh, this is definitely gonna be a down year. But obviously, this is why we play the games, right? This is why we play the games. And I did want to ask Max a kind of a personal question. Really, if you can get the heart of a Patriots fan, like what is it like? Because in my life, I don't say this. I don't necessarily like plugging everything, but I do listen to like Bill Simmons, and he's like a huge Patriots fan. And like I hear the mass hysteria for him about Mack Jones, right? Like he's constantly talking about him. So like I'm assuming Matt, like you're more kind of down to earth, like not like Bill Simmons, you know what I mean? Like around the people. So like how is the Mack Jones fandom? Like is it like to the point where it's like forget Tom Brady? Not forget him, obviously he was the greatest thing ever. But you get what I'm saying? Like we can now move on. This is our guy. We're championing him. We're moving forward. How is it?
It's definitely, it'll never be forget Tom Brady.
Absolutely.
Because all the comparisons that Mac Jones gets are to Tom Brady, which is ridiculous. It boggles my mind that people try to compare like Mac Jones' stats through 10 games in 2021 to Tom Brady back in 2001 when the league was completely different.
Right.
It's been 20 years since then, and so no, I think the Tom Brady shadow will always be kind of hanging around Mac Jones, I think, which is kind of unfortunate because it puts unnecessary pressure on him because I think part of this fan base, a very irrational part of this fan base, probably expects Mac Jones to be Tom Brady, which he's never going to live up to that. No quarterback is ever going to live up to that again. But we're all very, very excited, though. I mean, we feel like it's only been 12 weeks, but we feel like we really do have a franchise quarterback here based off the way he's played.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely certainly is looking that way, right? Like, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Like, we're both fighting for division. Nobody's seeing that, right? So, I guess it remains to be seen, where we go from here. But with that being said, we have this amazing game coming up Monday night, right? This is for all the marbles. Prime time game in Buffalo. It's going to be a raucous crowd at Highmark Stadium. I mean, people talk about Mac Jones. He's been in huge games before at Alabama, but this is beyond the biggest game he's ever been in his entire life, right? This is it. So before we do that, we do have to talk about some injury reports, some injury things, coming up to the game. And I want to go to Matt first because Matt, as I look at the Bills, injury report, obviously we haven't been healthy. But this week, it seems like we are. The only thing I'm seeing, at least the one that I want to talk about, and you can talk about a lot of it, but like Star is, even though he is off the COVID list, it's like he's still under the weather. So, Matt, can you talk about the injury report and how that affects us going forward?
Yeah, so I mean, we're getting some guys off of that COVID list, Star being one of them. And he's still, he's cleared to play, obviously, but I know that they mentioned that he was in contact with Deion Dawkins, to talk about like their chest pain and their the difficulty breathing and stuff like that. So that's sounding a lot worse than just coming off of the list with no symptoms or anything like that. So hopefully he can come back and be 100%. That would be great. But it's just like every week, man. They like can't talk about this COVID stuff, and they're very vague with it. So it's hard to really report on it. So hopefully, just like yesterday, he was on the report for illness and saying that he was limited. So it's looking like he's going to play, but I don't know which star we're going to get. And then obviously we got Spencer Brown. They were saying that he was limited, but it's more just getting a week back in shape or whatever. I think he'll be fine. We had Jordan Poyer was on the list. He had like a little issue, but I think he'll be good going forward. And then just a couple other guys, nothing major. So I think we're going to be full go on Sunday.
Which will definitely be different, obviously. So, for the last couple of weeks, we definitely been down a man or two, going into those games. So, we're definitely going to talk about some matchup things with that being said. But I do want to go to Max. Max, can you talk about the Patriots injury report? I haven't really had a chance to really keen on it, but I did want to ask you, how do you feel about it?
So the one thing that the Patriots have managed to do, and this isn't really a skill thing, it's more of a luck thing throughout the entire season, is that they've really stayed healthy.
Right.
And they don't have any injury designations going into Monday. The only thing that they do have is Kyle Duggar on the COVID list. Doesn't sound like he's going to go, which is honestly a pretty big deal because Duggar's been massive in his second year. That was a pick that I had kind of questioned last year when they made it in the second round, but this year he's been kind of a revelation on this defense. And the idea of him potentially not playing on Monday, it doesn't sound good. I think that's going to be pretty hurtful to this Patriots defense. But other than that, I mean, they're getting Jamie Collins back off of IR this week. I'm not sure what his status for Monday will be. It sounds like he might play in a limited role. But other than that, there's really not much to talk about for the Patriots. I mean, they have these kind of dinged up type injuries with David Andrews, Juwan Bentley, Dante Hightower, but nothing that really is going to affect their game status.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely been, sort of the injury bug definitely did not hit the Patriots, this season. Which is probably one of the main reasons why they're, kind of at the top of the division as it stands right now, right? It's been a lot of injuries going on this year. COVID has kind of run a little rampant. But nonetheless, we have an amazing game Monday. We just talked about the injury report. So, Matt, I do want to go to you, then I want to go to Max, because before we kind of get to the quarterback situation, right? I want to talk about the running game of the New England Patriots. We understand Ramondre Stevenson, he's a player to watch. And Damien Harris, right? And I was just looking at the Patriots losses. Obviously, besides two of them against, I believe, Miami and Dallas, when they played the Saints, who has a great run defense, and Tampa Bay, who have a great run defense. Like, their running game was non-existent, and they lost those games, close games. So, Matt, do you think that the Bills can be formidable against the run?
Well, it does play a lot with Starr. I mean, we like to talk about our run game being probably the worst in the league, but if you look at the overall, the Patriots actually average less yards a game rushing than us. Even though I think that they're a more physical team, and obviously they run the ball a lot more efficient. Their numbers just don't kind of match that. But I do think that we will be fine. I would say we'd be fine in the run with Starr, and Ed Oliver has been coming around lately. Edmonds being healthy, Milano being healthy. Even with Trey White out, we'll be able to kind of, stick to our man defense and be formidable against the run. We're the number 3 rushing defense in the league, and I think that'll be on display.
I think a lot of those numbers, like we obviously have Josh Allen, who is a rushing quarterback. So I mean, a lot of our yards come from that. But with that being said, I want to go to Max. Max, I mean, I talked about it, Ramondre Stevenson and Damien Harris, right? We know, like, you run in droves. You have a big offensive line, physical up there, and that's kind of where the offense starts, right? It starts there in the trenches, and it starts with those two backs. So Max, do you think that this is kind of the game plan that Belichick is, or Josh, McDaniels, are they going to rely on the run heavily? Because we are supposed to get some weather. I know we haven't talked about weather, a lot on the podcast because it's been pretty decent, but we're supposed to get some weather, action going on, Monday. So Max, what do you think the game plan is going to be?
Yeah, especially in a game where the weather is going to be tough. I think that the game plan will be to run the ball. And the Patriots have really built this team where they're kind of the antithesis of the modern day NFL. Because a lot of these teams nowadays, like the Bills, they like to spread it out and throw it more than anything else. The Patriots really do the opposite. I mean, they use a fullback as much as any team in the league, the big offensive line, obviously, the two power backs. So yeah, I think Monday night, the Patriots are going to want to run the ball. The Bills' run defense is really good. And if the Patriots can't run the ball, they're not going to be afraid to spread it out and throw it with Mack Jones, even in bad weather. They showed that against Tampa Bay when it was raining out, and the Bucs defense really were very stingy against the run. They still are. And the Patriots dropped back 41 times and moved the ball pretty well through the air, despite the final score being a low-scoring game. So I don't think the Patriots are going to be afraid to throw the ball on Monday night, but I will think that they're going to be more comfortable trying to get the run going early.
Interesting. So even with that being said, looking at your skilled positions, right? Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, even with the tight ends, right? Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. How do you think, like, going into this game, with Tre'Davious White being out, do you think that your skill position guys on the outside, do they have an advantage going into this game? Like, is it a situation where, like, in the red zone, like, I know I've been paying attention, like, Kendrick Bourne just seems to come up with a touchdown every time you're down there. Do you think that it's going to be more of that this game, right? Are you, like, going into this game, it's like, okay, I think we can kind of move the ball against the Bills.
Yeah, and Tre'Davious White, that's the huge thing, right? Because he's one of the best corners in the NFL. Losing him for the season, that's huge. And it definitely gives an advantage to the Patriots. I mean, this pass catching group on the surface, like going into the year, I was kind of like, okay, they spent all this money and they still don't really have a true number one pass catcher, right? And it hasn't mattered because these guys all complement each other fairly well. And Nelson Aguilar and Jonnu Smith, those guys aren't quite there yet in terms of really having a grasp on the offense and being productive, but teams still respect Nelson Aguilar's speed and his ability to get open down the field, which opens things up for those guys underneath, like Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry, Jacoby Myers. And Henry and Bourne are the two guys who have definitely emerged in the red zone. I mean, Hunter Henry had caught a touchdown in 5 straight games, I think, and Kendrick Bourne has really come on as well. So I do think that these pass catchers can get open against the Bills defense, especially without Tre'Davious White. If Tre'Davious White was in, I would think it might be a bit of a different story, though.
Interesting. So, Matt, I want to ask you that because I think, right, I don't believe, right, this is going to come down to just like a running game, right? I just don't believe. I think there's going to be some passing, right? There's going to be like some air raid attack. It has to be. So with that being said, Matt, I know Tre'Davious White is out. Do you think that our defense is up for the task? And in the situation do you think the game plan should be, right, let's just move up, right? Because I was even looking at some stats, some next-gen stats on Mack Jones, and they were saying like pretty much like I think at a point in the season, like throwing over 20 yards, Mack Jones is just not as good. Like they show kind of this diagram, like in the middle of the field, like when he throws like over 20 yards, he's not as accurate. You know what I'm saying? So do you think it is a situation where we should kind of force that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's, you mentioned Nelson Aguilar. That's like their home run hitter. You got to respect his, his speed and his ability to get open down the field. But, with our all pro safeties and the guys up front, you gotta make, you gotta be able to stop the run and then, stop their short passing game, which I think they'll definitely be able to do. It definitely is a move up game though. And if they beat us long, then we got to live with that.
Interesting. So let's get to Mack Jones. Let's get to Mack Jones because that's what everybody kind of wants to talk about right now. And I'm gonna go to Matt first. Matt, is this a situation where we're going to do pretty much anything we have to do in order to get pressure on him, right? Is this a situation where or do we want to sit back and coverage? I don't know. How do you feel the game plan should be going against a rookie quarterback in a hostile environment, right? For all the marbles, this is it. This is his Super Bowl, essentially. This game, right? Up until this point, do you think we should go after him, or do you think we should sit back and see if he can dissect our defense?
100%. You got to put some pressure on him, make mistakes. I mean, our two defenses are 1 and 2 in takeaways for a reason. You got to get to a point where he's got to throw the ball at our secondary, who does have a nose for intercepting the football. So I do think we definitely have to throw some pressure at him. The Bills Mafia, they're going to be there going crazy. It's going to be a crazy environment for him. So definitely we got to throw the kitchen sink at him.
Okay, and so Max, let me ask you this. Mac Jones is not necessarily a scrambler, right? He's not necessarily a person who's getting out of the pocket. So do you think that he's able to handle the pressure? Like if pressure comes, is he a quarterback that can kind of, one step drop, boom, get the ball out? Like, cause I know he checks down the ball a lot. Do you think that is something that will be implemented this game more so? Like, just let's hit our check downs and just try to get the ball out before the pressure even comes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the strengths of Mac Jones's game is that one step quick trigger, boom. That's something that he's very good at. And I think you definitely are going to see that in this game, especially if Buffalo tries to send the house on him, which I do agree with Matt. That's the right strategy because you look at the games where the Patriots have lost this year, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, Dallas, those teams were able to get to Mac Jones more often than not. Now, he didn't necessarily play poorly he played poorly against New Orleans, but against Dallas and Tampa Bay, he didn't necessarily play poorly in those games, but they still made enough plays and got to him enough times to the point where they made a difference in the game. So that's definitely the game plan that the Bills are going to want to implement. Can the Patriots handle it? I think so. I mean, their offensive line has certainly been improved compared to the start of the year. The offensive line was really, really porous at the start of the season. Not a lot of people realize that now because of how well they've been playing recently. So it's definitely going to be an interesting chess match in the trenches for sure.
All right, so let's switch it. Let's talk about the Bills offense and the Patriots defense. And I'm going to go to you, Max, because some say have, the defensive player of the year in Matt Judon, right? Like it's by far the best signing of the offseason. It's not even close. So I want to go to you. What does Matt Judon mean to the team? And when the Buffalo Bills, because obviously this is our first time playing the Patriots, when the Bills Mafia, go into that stadium and watch it on television, can you tell us what we are going to see from Matt Judon specifically?
Oh, he's been everything. I mean, and when they signed him, I figured it was going to be a pretty good signing. I figured he was going to be able to be productive. Did I think he would have 11 and a half sacks already? No. But the way that he's produced in this defense and really his charisma and his energy have been huge as well. And I think that'll definitely be on display on Monday night. I mean, he seems to kind of step it up in prime time when the lights are the brightest. And he certainly has made a huge impact on this defense. And hopefully he can get to Josh Allen a couple of times. Allen's obviously a very, very mobile quarterback who is pretty good at escaping pressure. But I think that's going to be definitely an interesting thing to watch is how are the Patriots going to fluster Josh Allen? And I think Matt Judon, obviously, as he has all year, is going to play a huge role in that.
Matt, do you think that the offensive line is up to it? I know we're getting healthy on the offensive line, but pressure has been an Achilles heel for the Buffalo Bills, right? Like when Josh Allen is pressured, great things do not happen. It's just a fact. Do you think it's a situation where, all right, we should just rely on our offensive line, we're getting healthy? Or is it a situation where maybe we should probably try to run the ball a little bit more? Like, I don't know. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to run the ball because, our interior line has been, the best part of our offensive line, and they really haven't been awesome this year. You got Christian Barmore on the other side, who's also been having a crazy year for those guys. And then you got Kyle Van Noy too. So I do think you got to establish the run early. And then, we have another element that was added the last few weeks in Matt Breida. If those guys are getting home quick, we executed our first running back screen last week.
No, right?
We gotta try to throw that kind of thing in, or quick throws to Dawson Knox, get it out of his hands for sure. Because I just, I'm gonna go with your stick here. I'm a realist here. I don't see the way that Dawkins has been playing, him being able to slow down Judon or anybody that's really in front of him right now. So until I see that, we definitely have to get something else going.
You're absolutely right. I will say it is troublesome. Like, right, Deion Dawkins against Matt Judon. Like, I don't like. It is scary. It really is scary because he could honestly terrorize us. And because the reality is like he is the best defensive player in the game right now. It's just a fact. Mm-hmm. Like this year, yeah. There's no other way of getting around it. And Deion Dawkins, even though we paid him money and he's supposed to be this great tackle, he hasn't been playing up to that level. So it's a situation like the rubber will meet the road, right? We will see what happens and how we figure. I don't know if it's a check or anything, but I will say, Matt, with that. So you talked about us establishing the run, right? Which is very, very important. But obviously we have Josh Allen, right? Top 3 MVP candidate, some say, this season. And with that being said, how do you feel the attack should be, right? Dawson Knox has came back, and he seems like he's definitely helping out the offense. Do you think it's a situation where, because in previous games, we've been feeding Stephon Diggs, right? We've been hyper targeting him. And we understand, I'm going to go to Matt to talk about this on the other end, right? J.C. Jackson is going to be on him, right? We know that. So is it a situation where, Dable needs to figure out, some secondary targets, right? Do we need to hyper target a Cole Beasley, right? Do we need to maybe get Dawson Knox more involved in the offense? How do you think the offense should attack this Patriots secondary?
Yeah, so like you said, Belichick does have an uncanny way to take away the other team's best player.
Right.
But so in that you have guys like Dawson Knox, and then I'm going to highlight another guy, Gabriel Davis. He's a bigger receiver. The Patriots secondary is a little bit smaller. He mentioned Duger being out possibly this week, so that's huge for a guy like Dawson Knox. He'll be guarded by, I think, who's the backup for them next? That Adrian Phillips.
Adrian Phillips, yeah, he's played a big role this year too.
Yeah, yep. So I think if they do take away Diggs, you got to get guys like that involved, and we do have the luxury of having those kind of guys that we can go to.
It's definitely going to be interesting. And I'm just go straight to Max. Max, do you think that J.C. Jackson can stick Stephon Diggs? Or is it a situation where Belichick is like, I know he's the master schemer, right? I don't know how he does it, but he does take out the first option, which is Stephon Diggs in our offense. Do you think that he's going to scheme up a way to take out Stephon Diggs?
Yeah, so last year on Monday night in Gillette, J.C. Jackson got absolutely cooked by Stephon Diggs. I remember that very well. I think JC's a better player this year, though.
Yes.
And I think that the team is going to have confidence on him to stick Stephon Diggs one-on-one. Now, Diggs is going to get his. I think we know that. He's just that good. But I think if the Patriots can at least limit him, that's going to be a win for their defense. So I don't think J.C. Jackson has to completely shut Diggs down. At least if they can contain him enough and limit those big plays, I think they're going to be fine.
Interesting. I want to get a little dicey. I do want to get a little dicey. And I want to go to our segment on expectation versus reality. But before we do that, Matt, can you please let the people know who's sponsoring this segment?
Yes, sir. This segment is brought to you by the good people at Buffalo Pet Supply. Do you have a pet? Are you looking into getting a pet? Or you know somebody who has a pet? There's only one place to send them for that pet to live its best life. Buffalo Pet Supply. Specializing in fish, small animals, and reptiles, the knowledgeable staff over at Buffalo Pet Supply can get you set up or maintain whatever setup you may have. Stop down and see the family-owned and operated staff located at 1345 Military Road in Kenmore, or give them a call at 716-874-1951. Same deal, mention the Overdue Bills podcast, get 10% off your order.
Absolutely. Shout out to Buffalo Pet Supply, where your expectation is their reality. All right. So I wanted to ask this about this idea of expectation versus reality, because Buffalo Bills is coming into this game with a spread of -3. I think it's still at 3. Matt, is it still at 3?
Yeah, it's at 3.
Right. So we're laying these 3 points. And interestingly enough, obviously the Patriots have been playing well as of late. They're top of the division. So I'm gonna ask you, Matt, just straight up, do you think the Bills should be favored in this game?
I do. I mean, well, that 3 in Vegas is pretty much just, it's money line, and they give the 3 points to the home team, right? So it's pretty much an even matchup. So
True. But I will say this, just to throw it out there. It's not a betting show, but this season, 3 hasn't been the standard, right? I believe that road teams are less than 50% in a winning percentage this year. Yeah. So I mean, what I'm saying is it hasn't been the rule of thumb, but nonetheless, you continue.
Yeah. So yeah, I do think they should be the favorite. I mean, obviously we're playing at home with the crowd. McDermott, with his record against rookie quarterbacks, I think the only reason why it's a little smaller, like why it's not closer to like the higher spreads we've been seeing, is because of the Patriots' road record and their defense.
Interesting. And I'm gonna go to Max. I ask you the same question, and I just want to lay this foundation that obviously Bill Belichick. We haven't really talked about coaching, I guess, because we know. I mean, Bill Belichick is probably one of the best coaches of all time, without question. He owns the Bills. It's just a fact. Granted, he does. He owns the Bills with Tom Brady, but nonetheless, he does own the Bills historically. And so, do you think that, with all those things being considered, should the Bills be favored this game?
Yeah, so a 3-point line in favor of Buffalo, it makes sense to me because I don't think the Patriots have really faced an environment like this yet this season with this hostile of a crowd, this loud of a crowd. That plays a huge factor because their other road games, they played in SoFi, which is going to be basically 50-50
Yeah.
because Chargers fans don't really care.
If that.
Yeah, basically. In Atlanta, Patriots fans traveled pretty well in that game. In MetLife against the Jets are miserable, and so are their fans. They're out of it after the first quarter usually.
Facts.
So I don't think the Patriots have, despite their 5-0 record on the road, they haven't faced a challenge like this yet on the road. So I do think that a 3-point line in favor of Buffalo. I do think that they should be the favorite in this game.
It's funny. I honestly, like for me, I think the 3-point line is I don't want to use the word disrespectful, but it is a tell, right? It is a tell, right? Like
it's low.
Yeah, like the Buffalo Bills. I mean, we're supposed to be this amazing team. I'm just saying perception wise. We're this amazing team. I mean, we still have a good record. And, we're only favored by 3 points, right? That's just the standard. You would think maybe 5-6 points at home. But they definitely give, the New England Patriots definitely a huge boost as far as, looking at the spread in this game. And it's definitely going to be interesting to see how it works. So right now, I do want to get into our over-under segment, right? This is where we get into the nitty-gritty and analysis, right? We talk about our over-unders and we kind of tell how and why we feel the way we feel about, these particular over-unders. So first up, and I thought this was really low. I understand that he doesn't necessarily throw for a lot of yards, but I thought this was just extremely low. And it's Mack Jones at 200.5 passing yards. And I'm going to go to you, Max, first. Max, over under 200.5 passing yards.
I'm going to go over. It may not be much, but I'm going to go over. So look, the Patriots, like I said earlier, they are going to probably want to run the ball going into this game, but I think that will lead to the play action game. And Mack Jones has been one of the best play action quarterbacks in the NFL so far this year. Against Tennessee, he was 11 for 11 for 169 yards on play action. I think the Patriots are going to try to build off of that going into this game. And I think that he's going to have to throw the ball a fair amount in order for them to come away with a win here. So I'm going to go over.
Matt, and shout out to Lou in the comments. He says over for Mack Jones. But Matt?
Yeah, I'm gonna go slightly over too. I think just because the volume of I think he's gonna have to pass the ball, a lot more than normal to get that. I think 200 is definitely attainable for the amount of times he'll probably have to throw the football.
Okay, all right, Josh Allen, 233.5 passing yards, over under.
I'll go over. I feel like the Bills, it doesn't matter what the weather is. I feel like the Bills are going to do what they do, and that's they're going to try and throw the ball down the field and make these big plays. And I think that they always do a good job of that. And I think that 233 yards, that's a very low number for Josh Allen, I feel like. Yes. Like, I understand the Patriots have a great defense. They absolutely do. But this Bills offense, I think this is one of the biggest tests they've faced all season, definitely since the Dallas game, I think. So I would say easy over 233 yards for Josh Allen.
I like you know what though? I try not to bet the Bills, right? I try not to, I try to stay away because it's a hurt thing. Yeah, it's a hurt thing.
Yeah.
But looking at this 233, like I don't. Maybe it's me, or is it like maybe they know something that we don't know, and obviously they always do. But Lou said in the comments, he said, it's supposed to be, obviously I talked about the weather, it's supposed to snow. So I don't know if they're trying to say that the weather is going to affect the game that much where Josh Allen can't get 233, or the combination of that and, the Patriots defense. I'm not really sure, but I think it's low. Matt, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, he's been averaging. He's been at about 280 to 300 all year long. I think that's a gift from Vegas. I mean, it's even if he doesn't have a crazy game, that's not a lot of yards for him. Especially for the chunk plays that they get. I don't think that's a lot. So I'm gonna definitely go over.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely smash the over. And I don't know if anybody else is listening out there. Again, I say we're not a betting show, but you might want to put a few units on this one. Let's just throw that out there. All right, so Damien Harris. This is interesting because people, like a lot of people are saying this is going to be a running game, right? Damien Harris, and this is where they have it, over under 49.5 rushing yards.
So look, I'm gonna go under here.
Wow.
Yeah, so Damien Harris, his last few games, he's against Atlanta, he was coming off a concussion, didn't really play all that much, didn't play all that well, really. Same with Tennessee, and this is another good run defense in the Buffalo Bills. And they are not going to give Harris these bell cow carries anymore because they have Ramondre Stevenson. So I think they're going to split the work fairly evenly. And against a staunchy run defense, I'm going to go under here.
Matt?
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback on that just because I don't think he's gonna get as many carries as Stevenson. He might be a shorter yardage kind of guy in this game.
Yeah, I don't know. It remains to be seen. Harris was lights out early in the season, but obviously Ramondre Stevenson, he has been a revelation, and I will say this on the pod, I do have him in one of my fantasy leagues, and I'm kind of debating on whether or not I should put him in. I'm kind of scared because I had Melvin Gordon, he's not playing now, but I don't know. Max didn't kind of convince me. Can you convince me on a Ramondre Stevenson play? No.
I see. The way the Patriots have used these guys recently, you kind of have to bet on a touchdown for one of them in order to have a good exactly right. And I hate doing that in any situation, let alone New England. So I can't in good faith tell you to play either of them in this game. Not because I think they both are going to have a bad game, but because it's hard to predict which one. If one of them is going to score a touchdown, it's going to be hard to predict which one will do it because they're going to get fairly down the middle in terms of carry split.
Right. Interesting. So for all the people out there, it's not a fantasy show. Do not play with Ramondre Stevenson. All right. So I thought this was interesting. All right, Stephon Diggs. Since the total for Josh Allen is at 233. Right, and we all are saying we're smashing the over there, right? Everybody's smashing the over there. But Stephon Diggs is at 57.5, right? Stephon Diggs has generally been at 74 to 80, right? Like his line is always there. This is 57.5. And again, with all things being considered, I don't like the weather. Obviously, it's saying snow, but you just never know in Buffalo. It's Jekyll and Hyde sometimes. So I'm gonna go to Matt first. Matt, how do you feel about our star receiver, Stephon Diggs? Over under 57.5?
I'm gonna go over just because I looked at like the past, number ones or leading receivers that the Patriots have played, and they've averaged about 75 yards. So I think I'm gonna go over on that with Diggs, just the way that we play him. I know J.C. Jackson's playing better, but he's got to convince me that he could stop Diggs because in the past two meetings he wasn't able to.
Max?
Over slightly. I think that the Bills are going to have to use guys like Dawson Knox, Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders if they want to win this game. But I do think Diggs is good enough in the way that they use him that he is going to get over 57.5. But I don't think it's going to be by much. I could see him getting between 60 to 75 for sure.
Yeah,
but
that's about what he's been at.
Yeah, right.
I listen. I'll say this. And I don't have to actually. Dawson Knox is at 28.5, and I'll say smash the over. I don't know what's going on. I maybe listen. I know they're smarter than us, but this is not a gambling show. But we just kind of want to give an analysis on how we feel about the game, and I think that these next over unders is going to kind of tell the game. And I want to go to sacks, and I'm going specifically to the Patriots defense. Right, over under 2.5 sacks against the Buffalo Bills Monday primetime. Max.
Over.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel kind of confident about that one, and now. That could definitely play a factor in the game, but the way that this Patriots pass rush has been playing recently, I think definitely it's not just Matt Judon, right? It's Christian Barmore, it's Kyle Van Noy. They bring Hightower off the edge sometimes. I'm gonna go over on that one, just because of the way this pass rush has been playing all season and the way that they've been producing.
Interesting, Matt.
I'm gonna go under, but right at 2, because that's about what we've been giving up. As bad as the offensive line has been, I'm gonna leave it there. I think he'll be able to get the ball out in this game.
I think I will say 2 as well, only because I think that Dable, if we get some weather, he's going to run Josh Allen more. Like he has to. Like this is not like a game where let's just get Josh Allen out. This is a must win. Like, I mean, we want to win the division. This is a must win game. And I think that Brian Daboll has to bring out all the stops. And you will see Josh Allen I know we used to call him when I played Little League football, 17 sweeps. The quarterback was number 1, so 17 sweeps. So you will see a lot of those runs, I think personally. And that will kind of, I don't want to say put the pass rush at bay, but it will just give Matt Judon something to think about, right? Like, okay, you do have to play the run for the quarterback, which will be interesting. So I'm going to say this, Matt, we know our secondary, even though Tre'Davious White is not playing, our secondary still has been stout. We have two of the best safeties in the league. So I'm going to ask you, over under, and this is I guess kind of, I'm going to put the line at 1. Over under 1 interception from Mack Jones. Over under. Do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna go over. I think we make him make a
Wow.
couple mistakes in this game, and our secondary, even without Trey White, we got three leaders on our team in interceptions, and Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, and Teron Johnson. So they're still playing in this game. I think they're gonna make him make a couple mistakes. I'm gonna go over, not by much, obviously. I'm gonna maybe say 2.
That's a lot.
But I'm gonna go over.
Two is
It
a lot of interceptions,
Two is.
like in the grand scheme of
is.
things. So I'm a Max. Do you think that Mack Jones? He really doesn't throw interceptions at all. He doesn't really turn the ball as much. But the games you've lost, he has had a high turnover count. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I think that the Bills can get him to make one mistake this game, but I'm not going to go any more than 1 interception because Mac Jones hasn't had a multi-pick game since week 3.
Right.
And he's good for 1. He's a rookie. You know what I mean? He's going to have mistakes. Even when they've won games, he's thrown an interception. So I would say 1 pick is definitely a reasonable prediction. I'm not willing to go any more than that because of the way that he takes care of the football. But I still think that there are definitely playmakers on that Bills defense that can force him into making at least 1 mistake.
Right. Listen, like I said, it's gonna be an interesting game. Shout out to Lou, definitely going crazy in the comments. We talked about Breida. We talked about getting Breida some carries. But yeah, it's interesting. With that being said, listening to the answers that you've given, I really don't know how. I don't know how both of you feel. Well, I know how Matt feels about the game, but I'm interested to hear how Max feels about the game. So Max, we do it. We give our predictions, man. And listen, no pressure. It's just a couple Bills fans here. No pressure. But so give me your prediction on the game.
So going into the season, I thought these teams would split, and I haven't really seen any reason to say otherwise now. I think the Bills, unfortunately, win this one by 3 or 4 points. I think it'll be in the 20s, probably like 24-20, something like that.
Okay.
I think the Bills are going to take this one, but I think that the Patriots, they'll be fine because they got that game in Gillette in their back pocket still. So right. I do think the Bills take this one. I think it'll be a great game and a close game. Definitely worthy of being on primetime for sure.
Okay, Matt, let me hear it.
Yeah, so going I guess my thoughts going into this game is that the Bills are back to their underdog mentality, right? Because the media has been just down the Patriots' throat all the past week. They had like a visual of like the top 4 quarterbacks going into the week. It was like Mahomes, Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, and Mac Jones going against the Bills. You know what I mean? So just like the media disrespect they made, I think the mistake of letting them go back to the underdog mentality will kind of turn this game up for the Bills. So I'm going to go. I think they're going to win, honestly, by 2 touchdowns in this game. That's,
Max, it's okay. He does it every pod. He does it. Don't worry about it.
Not every pod, but like I think it's going to be one of these games where the Bills are going to come out on national TV and kind of get that torch back. Like this is our division. We have to win this game and we have to make a statement, and I think they will go out and do that. So I'm gonna go with 27-10.
That's interesting. That's listen, it's interesting. And I'll say this to the people, and I'll tell you, Max, I'm normally never in lockstep with Matt. Like never. But on this game, I'm gonna be honest. I honestly think I had my score down 29-11. I did at 29-11. I'm gonna tell you why. I've been saying this all year. Matt can attest. I've been talking down the Bills all year, right? I thought we were overrated. I think Josh Allen is overrated. I'm a realist, right? I'm the only real person on the pod. I consider myself. And I said our defense was fool's gold. Like I was just being honest, and it played out, right? We lost some games we never should have lost in horrible fashion. But I always said against the Patriots, this is what I said. I said Mac Jones has been playing well, but like he's a rookie at the end of the day, right? He's a rookie at the end of the day, and I think that if Sean McDermott is who he is, right, and if Leslie Frazier, our defense coordinator, is who he is, and our defense is we have these blue chippers on our defense, right? We have to throw the kitchen sink at this boy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, we're gonna turn him over. We have to. It's just a rite of passage, right? He's not obviously the best rookie of all time. He's not gonna be that. He's definitely not gonna be that in Buffalo. So I think that Mack Jones is going to struggle mightily. I think it's going to be a slow game in the beginning because I think Bill Belichick is that great of a coach and he deserves, that, right? We're not going to just run roughshod, but I think over time we're going to get some points up on the board and Mack Jones is going to struggle and the Bills is going to take this game. Now, Max, obviously not next week, but the week after that, when we come to Gillette, you can come back on and then, we'll see, right? We'll see,
Yeah.
We'll see, if anybody is right. But we definitely appreciate you coming on. And Max, if you can, let the people know, you know what I'm saying? Again, the podcast name and all of those amazing things.
Yeah, so Patriots Unrestricted. I know that this is a bunch of Bills fans that I'm probably talking to right now, but hey, if you ever want to keep up with us and how we're doing, at Any Unrestricted on Twitter, we post our episodes every week. If you want to follow my personal, it's Max_Bozikis. That's BOZICAS. And my co-host Adam, he's at AdamX530. I really appreciate you guys having me on, and I definitely would like to come on for the rematch in Foxborough for sure.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, tell us how wrong we both were. I hope
Maybe, hopefully. I hope so.
We'll see. I definitely can't wait for Monday can't come soon enough, man.
No.
Monday can't come soon enough. But Matt, can you let the people know about the contest? Gotta let people know about the contest.
Yes, sir. The contest has been up. We're going to do the same thing, the score prediction. You're going to predict the score for the game on Monday night. As a tiebreaker, do the Bills' total offensive yards and tag 2 people, and you'll be entered to win a Buffalo Wing Kings gift card. Make sure you get those in. It's either on Instagram or Facebook. You can enter the contest. You got till 8 p.m. on Monday night. Get in that contest.
Absolutely. And shout out to everybody who was watching live. We definitely appreciate you. We know this is kind of, early. Everybody's probably doing some Christmas shopping right now. But, a lot of people are going to be playing a replay. So shout out to y'all. Definitely like, share, rate, and review, subscribe, all of those amazing things. Follow us on all of our socials, Overdue Bills Pod. And definitely go to the website, overduebillspod.com, overduebillspod.com. And Matt, we end the show with, and Max, you're going to hear it all tomorrow. Hey, 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 hey.
Hey.
Let's go.